everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. We're going to do a little more stuff on our Ferris ProCut. After having this thing out and doing a little bit of mowing with it, the only thing I would like to do to it right now is lower the cutting height. It's up. I'd like to lower it a ½ inch. The deck height on these mowers is determined by a combination of what set of holes you've got the deck mounted to the rider. This is the upper set. And the position of these shims on the caster below and above the tube. And shims here on the blade spindles. You can see there's the shims on the bottom. There's 2 of them underneath. Look at these blades. Talk about destroyed. This should be straight, and that has actually worn right through. These are junk. One way or another, I'll get some new ones for it, but for now, this is what we've got to work with. The settings that are on that deck right now are actually all over the place. I want my nominal setting to be 3 inches because that's what my IS2000 is set at. So, upper holes, we've got that already, thank goodness. And then we need 3 blade spacers above the spindle and 2 caster spacers above the spindle. So right now we've got only 1 blade spacer above and also only 1 caster spacer above. So it's got a mix. First we'll set the blade height. Now the book calls for 3 spacers at the top. And it started out life with 4 spacers per spindle, although this has happened to a lot of them. But at any rate, all we need to make sure is that we've got 1 spindle at the bottom, and on the top, we'll pack it up with 5/8 flat washers or whatever we've got to do so we can get the nut on and tight. We'll get some more spacers. They're still available, or I'll just make some up on the lathe. Now we can fix this. There should only be 1 spacer below this, not 2 like they've got it. So we just, let's see here. Pull this hitch pin, and down it comes. Theoretically, anyway. All right, now that's the proper orientation of the spacers for a 3-inch cut. What we're going to do now is contrary to the lie I told you in the previous video. There is a few grease fittings on this deck. So we're going to go ahead and get her greased up. There's not a ton of them. There's each here on each spindle. The front wheel hubs don't seem to have any. Or is that one there? Oh no, there's one there. Yeah, so we're going to get this deck greased up. And there's a grease fitting in each spindle because we just didn't do that in the last video. And then we're going to get this thing out and see how it mows now. That went pretty well. You can see there it cuts pretty nicely now. I've got quite a list of bits and pieces and stuff I need for this thing. And there is one at a local auction just up the street. So we'll see how that goes. And I will report back when I know more. Well, here you have it. We needed some Ferris parts. We got Ferris parts. We bought this thing at the auction. It's newer than the one that we have, but a lot of the parts that we need, we can harvest from this thing anyway. Ours has a Kohler engine, but it's a V. This one, you can see it's a boxer, but got a little problem with at least one connecting rod. Listen to this. I don't have to tell you that's not good. Anyway, it is what it is. So we're going to just get this thing, blown apart, harvest what we can harvest from it, and scrap the rest. And hopefully we don't have to buy as many things as we were planning on buying when we fix up our ProCut. I think the first thing I'm going to do while it's still in the trailer, I'm going to take the deck off it while it's still in here. All we got to do is come up with something in here so that when I take the deck off, it doesn't fold back. It makes it very difficult to roll it around. So I'll probably, I think I can just clamp a piece of angle iron to that and we should be okay. I haven't managed to find the serial number on the rider part of this, but I did find the serial number on the deck, and it's actually older. It's actually older than mine. I thought it was newer, but it's older. Well, I guess we could start blowing this thing apart, see what bits we can use on our other one. I got my fingers crossed that it's got the same transaxle. Hard to say. It seems to operate the same way, so maybe it does. That control cable seems like it's in good shape, so that's a good spare part. And the jack that tilts the deck up, they wear out. It's just a 12-volt linear actuator, but they do wear out, so hopefully that's good. We'll test it. I got this little gas tank off of it. It looks like it's been resealed at some point in time, and it even smells pretty decent inside, so I think that's okay. We'll keep that. That could be handy for a little project, you know. I'm going to get this hydraulic tank off of here next. I'm also happy it appears to have the same transaxle as my other one, and because the engine is all apart, it's probably the engine is the reason that the thing went out of service, not the transaxle. I got the hydraulic tank off. Now I'm going to work on getting the controls and the dash and all this stuff out of here. Eventually we will get the engine off, and I'm curious to get inside this thing and see how bad it really is. I'm pretty sure it needs at least a crankshaft and 2 connecting rods. We have to see what the barrels are like, because I'll tell you what, these Kohler boxers are nice engines. I had one before in a Roper yard tractor, and I'll tell you what a smooth running engine, tons of power. I really like my Kohler boxer. I think now I'm ready to drop down the transaxle. There's bolts holding it at each end. I've got them out. I've got the control cable unhooked at the back, and this little cross shaft here, which was attached to that. So I should be able to just lower this thing down. These are the tall bolts that go through it. All right, let's see what happens. I don't think there's anything else hooked onto this, but there's only one way to find out. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Wonder it may have another bracket or something at the back. All right, give me a sec. Let's try again. The deck of this thing is so full of pine needles and stuff, you miss the odd bolt. Oh, look at that. Down she comes. It seems to be still attached to something. But, oh, yeah, I see. Another bolt. All right, we'll get that. Well, there we go. We got it. One hydrostat unit. Perfect. What we have to do now is get this bolt out of the bottom of the crankshaft, and that'll let us get the clutch down. And then we've got to get this little pulley off. This is the one that drives the hydrostat unit. And then we'll be able to undo all these bolts under here and lift the engine out the top. There's the clutch. You can see the wear and tear on it from years of it beating against the stopper under there. So if we were to reuse this clutch, we'd straighten this out, weld that back up to kind of repair it a bit. Now let me see what I've got to do to get that little pulley off. This pulley was above the clutch, and it was held in with a single grub screw. And I was a little bit worried, but my fears were unsubstantiated. It came right off. So that's good. Now we can get these bolts out of here, and I can lift the engine off of this thing. Here we are. We've got the engine free. We've just got a bunch of wires these are all ground, so we'll just fatigue them off, because there we go. There we go. Where does this guy go? He goes over. Oh, we can just unplug that. There. And our engine should be free. What do you think, Deb? Does it look like we got everything?
Yeah.
Okay, here we are. Not every day you'll see me lift a whole engine with my own 2 arms. She's a heavy little guy. Okay, there it is. Engine is off. I'm going to take a minute now and just get this deck cleaned up before we continue taking stuff apart. All right, the motor deck I think is ready to come off. I just need to take out this bolt and I should be able to jiggle it off. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, there's something hanging on there, isn't there? Oh, the control cable. Give me a sec. 2 bolts. Unfortunately now, to get this damn cable out of that little tiny hole, I have to take the yoke off and take it out of the bracket. I should have remembered that from my other one because it's kind of the same deal. Well, here we are. We've got the motor deck off. And last thing I got to do is get the pigtail for the clutch out of here. Got to snip it. You can see some of the Frankenstein repairs that were done to this thing over the years. It's got a gusset welded in down on this side, and you can see here our crack has been fixed. But that's, you know, these things. This thing probably's got like 1,000,000 hours on it, so stuff is going to happen. Not much left of her now. We're still picking away at it. I'm working on getting the control cable out now, and we'll get all this stuff out. I'm not sure how much of it is the same as the other one, but for the little space it takes to throw it in a box, we'll keep it for now. And if it turns out that it's completely different than the other one, we can always chuck it in the bin. Now I'm just picking away at taking the back end of this thing apart. This here, we're going to get the linear actuator for the deck lift out of it. Once I'm done in here, we'll take this over to the bench and test it and see if it works. They're worth a few bucks, those things. And you can see here, look at this. Look at this crack. Right up there, almost right up to the top. Interesting. Here you can see how it's steered with chains and sprockets. There's another sprocket up under the back here. We'll get this down. I just have to undo this turnbuckle to get enough slack in it to let it come down. I would guess it's 2 separate chains. I don't think it's a spiral sprocket, although it may be. I don't know. There's so much guck on it, it's hard to tell. But we'll get it out of there and find out anyway. Now we can get the rear wheel and the spindle out of here. It's just pretty much just a trailer hub, and with a wheel on it. You can see it gets the caster effect. Even though this is square, that's kind of offset, so that gives it that caster effect. My newer one, it's definitely got a lot more sweep to it, but I guess this worked. So, not knocking it. This is being an early one. This has got a lot more parts that are just made out of cut flat bar steel welded together, whereas my I guess you would call it 2nd generation ProCut has got a lot more refined stampings that look a little more manufactured, right? It almost looks like this thing has been shortened. Ferris, there isn't really enough room there for an F, is there? What's it look like on the other side? Well, maybe. It's definitely had, you can see here it's had a welding repair. This poor old thing has had a lot of work done to it over the years. Well, so much for that old thing. I'll get this all cleaned up and then look at my list of parts that I need for the other one and cross off what we managed to salvage from this one. I got to get that in here in a little bit because, we still have to take the deck apart. Anyway, I got to get this mess cleaned up for now. Well, we could test this linear actuator, see if it works. Hey, what do you know? Goes out. We'll reverse the polarity and see if it goes back. Good. So we've got a spare one of those. Now we can get this deck taken apart. Theoretically, this deck, although it is slightly different in style than our deck, it is in fact interchangeable. But there's nothing wrong with my deck, and there's lots wrong with this deck. It's hit tree stumps. It's all smashed. It's broken and split. It's got lots of welding repairs on it. I'm more than capable of repairing my deck if something goes wrong with it, rather than storing this thing for eternity. So we're just going to take it apart, get all the bits and pieces that we can use off of it, and we'll get rid of the larger pieces into the bin. Well, now I got her stood up. You'll notice a few things. It's got a pretty used up set of gator mulching blades on it. That's nice. We got a piece of barbed wire wrapped around that one. Look at this. Look at the cracks in this thing. Crack. There's a crack there. Over on this. Look at this side. Look at that there where the wheel is on. So this deck is junk. So I don't feel so bad about not saving it now. But anyway, we'll go ahead. We could still save the spindles and little bits and pieces off it. There's still lots of good stuff here. The caster brackets on this one are different than the ones on ours. Although I'm sure I could, if I had to, drill a couple of holes and bolt these ones on. But you can see this one's been busted off and welded back together. Anyway, we don't need them. But what we will do is we got a hammer and a punch, and we're going to knock the bronze inserts out of them, because we could reuse those in ours if ours wear out. This old thing had a pretty rough go at it, I'll tell you. Look at the bend in that blade. Look at all the fence wire and stuff wrapped around the. These are the, you can see down in there are the shims for the spacers for the blade bolt here. So we'll have to get them extricated from there. But at least now we can see our spindles. We can get them out of there. Oh, that's that. All that stuff is junk. That's all the stuff we're keeping from the deck, and that's all the good stuff from the rider. And of course, we've got the engine over in the barn. I was looking on eBay yesterday, and there's all kinds of good used crankshafts for that engine. So she may live to fight another day. I love those Kohler boxers. I know I keep going on and on about it. They're a great engine. There she goes. Now that we've got the Ferris we bought at the auction parted out and gone, we're going to start using some of the parts from it on our ProCut. So the first thing we're going to do is I've taken 3 of these blade spacers, because 3 of ours were missing. There should be 4 per spindle, and because of cracked and broken ones, we only had enough for 3 for spindle. So now we can get right back to the proper amount of them. And what we're going to be doing, because at the beginning of this video, we talked about lowering the cutting height just a little bit more. So we're going to do that. We're going to put 1 more spacer in on top of the blade, and that'll lower our cutting height down to 2 3/4, which should cut hopefully right around 3 inches. I'm not too sure why this is off a little bit. A lot happens to these things over the years. These tires may not be the original size. They may have been replaced. The tires on the rider may have been replaced and be slightly different. It's hard to say, but all I want to do is get this thing so it cuts at the same height as the IS. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Another thing that I found out, they use the same blades, the ProCut and the IS. If you go part number by part number, they are different. And as far as I can tell, the blades from the IS are a little bit thicker material than the blades on the ProCut. These are 3/16. These are 1/4. That's the only thing I could find different about them. Otherwise, they're the same length, the same profile, etc., etc. So we're going to go ahead and put this thing back together and get it out there and do some mowing. that was a great run for it. The thing cuts beautifully. I'm really happy with it. Well, that worked out really well. I was really hoping I could find a dead one for parts for a good price, and we did. We got everything we needed off of it, and we've got this thing working great now. I'm going to take off now. I want to thank you for tuning in. Hope you'll come back and see us again next time. And until then, this is Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.